the responsibility of being older and more experienced is turning around and helping those who are younger grow up and be responsible and learn about how life works and how the event world works, specifically in this podcast.
All right, here we are with the Joe and Todd show, and this is episode 1. Pretty excited about this, and I'm guessing we're going to continue to experiment with our sound levels and just making sure that we're on the right thing. So we'll keep doing that. Anyway, so here we are. Episode 1.
Yep.
Pretty great.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, Joe and Todd show. Todd and Joe show. Joe and Todd
to the show.
That's right. We are event planners in Tulsa, Oklahoma, doing all stuff all across the way. Wherever we can find a job, we take it, and love really the heart of events. So we really kind of, this episode is kind of a getting to know us episode, and who we are, what we do, what our strengths, what our weaknesses.
Who are you, Joe?
Who are you, Todd? So we've
it's a mystery.
We have. I like to be mysterious.
Mm-hmm.
That's who I am. So. Tell us about you. What brings you to the event world, Mr. Wade?
World.
How did you get up in events?
How much of the story do you want?
Up in events. I want all of it.
The whole story. Wow. I was an architect. Started as an architect. Wanted to be an architect since I was in 9th grade.
9th grade. Wow.
9th grade.
Why 9th grade?
I took geometry class and loved geometry. It was my favorite class, and I had a teacher. We were talking about just what I wanted to do, career counseling.
You had geometry in 9th grade? Isn't that unusual?
Yeah.
Like, that's because you're really smart?
I don't know about that. It's only 9th grade.
I had geometry as a senior or something.
Oh my gosh.
I think I was a junior. I don't know. It was later in life. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
That was kind of an entertainment.
No wonder you're words and I'm numbers.
Exactly.
So that's rule number 1, Todd and Joe. Todd is numbers, Joe is words. Yep. I do Excel, he does Word.
He does excel in words, though, sometimes.
And I do drawings. So that's what got me to loving architecture and really interested in architecture. I was also taking a French class at the time. And the love of the French language and the
what level
architecture.
Of French were you doing?
1.
Okay, just making sure.
I did make it up to level 3 at some point.
French?
No, but I loved the French architecture and just the cathedrals and that kind of thing. And that really drew me to architecture. And so I went to OSU, got an architecture degree, and then got a license in 2000, somewhere in there, and worked as an architect. Takes a long time. I graduated in 94. Takes 5 years to get a license, typically, once you're out of school.
Wow.
So I got the license. I actually moved to California and got the license in California, which is one of the hardest states to get a license in. It's a lot of fun. Quit work for actually three to 6 months, I think, and just took the tests all at once. It was an awesome experience.
That's cool.
Highly recommend it.
Yeah.
So anyway, worked in architecture the whole time, and then came back to Oklahoma and worked for a couple of companies here in Oklahoma as an architect, and then actually 3 companies. And then in 2017, we met again. We met way back in 1996, 7, somewhere in there,
4, something like
somewhere
that.
in there.
Yeah.
No, it was before I was married, so it would have been.
Yeah, you were working.
90s,
Silver Dollar City.
Early 90s. Yeah, Joe came up to the tintype photography booth, and his wife Angie introduced Joe to me. I remember that moment really well.
Yep.
Now that I think about it. And anyway, that's the one and only time I ever met Joe.
We have been in the same room several times.
Yes,
we think we've been to weddings, maybe a funeral, and
probably the graduation.
Mall. Probably the mall. Yeah, graduation. Anyway, so we met.
Yeah, and
a couple years
ago. Met, and Joe started using me for some prop design and some layout help and that kind of thing on some larger projects, and started realizing we really work well together, and enjoyed the event world and just kind of the the variety that it provides and the entertainment value, and just the getting to know all sorts of people. And, it was really interesting to me. And so we just kind of decided maybe we should do it together. So we did. And so then in 2017, we started RumbleDrum in October, and been doing events ever since.
That's right.
Still an architect.
Best thing.
Which helps with layouts and design and all sorts of things in event planning.
I say often that the thing that I never knew that we really needed an architect in the event world. I was at Fashion Week in New York City, 2015, I think, and kind of talking to some people. And in the hotel room that night, I wrote down, I really need to meet an architect. And it was kind of a funny thing because I really didn't know any and kind of saw them in a different world. But we're talking about just the world of events where we're going as far as being responsible with tents and fire egress and escape and all that. And just really think I need that professional level of just knowing and layouts. Are we keeping people safe? Are we doing what we need to do? Are we taking up the level of the building that we need to and caring for that? So yeah, I'm really glad that all happened because it kind of had the back of my mind. I need to meet an architect. So really grateful when we met. For me, I've been doing events my whole life. Seriously, really, it's just been a part of me since I was
kindergarten,
very small, maybe even younger. I always thought I was going to go in the entertainment industry. I planned to be an actor, singer, dancer, whatever, for years and years and years.
Your family was big in the entertainment.
Yeah, my family loved that industry. And did a lot of stuff. And so that was all very much a part of my world. Interacted with a lot of entertainers throughout my lifetime and just thought that's what I wanted to do. In fact, I thought, well, if I'm not going to be on the stage, maybe I'll be behind the stage. Maybe I'll do management or something like that. And so it's kind of interesting because even though I'd done events, I never saw it as a profession. And then after a little while, I was asked to be an event person at a college. Just kind of continued to grow into it. Worked at a convention center. Worked for another event company doing mostly trade shows and that sort of thing. And just had a lot of fun and eventually started my own company about 10 years ago. So 12 years ago. So yeah, here we are. And it's been a really fun ride. We have some great clients, just love the people side of things, getting to know people, figuring out their story, that sort of stuff. So what would you say, Todd, is the first step in planning an event? What do you think is the most important? You can look at the notes there if you want to.
Yeah,
of what you wrote down earlier.
The right answer is to figure out why you want to have an event. I think in my mind, I always want to think about the date and the venue, just because those are so key in establishing what you want to do. But even before that, you've got to know why, because that's going to inform every decision you make about an event.
For us, a lot of times our clients have already told us why. They know the why before they hire us. They call us and they say, "Hey, I want to do this event for this reason." Right. And then a lot of times that's
maybe an established event that we come in and help them take it to the next level.
Or it may be something they've just decided to do and we're kind of inventing it along with them.
Yeah.
Or maybe there's an announcement they want to make or something like that. So but a lot of times they know the why. I can't even think of a time I've gone to somebody with the why. I've had a lot of times where we have had to
help them discover the why.
The why.
Yeah.
They know they want to have an event. They know it's important, but they don't really know why. Or sometimes I think there's a masked why. I think I was talking to a friend the other day about that of why do people have events, or why do they come to us, or why all those reasons. And a lot of times I think we say we're having an event to honor our employees. We're having an event to raise money, when really maybe we're having an event to solidify our company values, or maybe we're having an event to tell people we had an event, or maybe it's to show off that we did something well, or maybe we're trying to get new people to know us and like us and that sort of thing. So I think sometimes there's a
raising a certain amount of money.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes there's that announced why, stated why, and then sometimes there's a little bit of a kind of undertone why. Maybe that's not the real reason. We're talking to a friend with music, and like, do students come to them to learn music, or do they come to learn confidence? And there's some really great books and podcasts or two out there about that subject. And I think that's really true. It's like, what is the why? And so again, the why in the event, I think, is really important to know that very first thing. And then I think kind of the budget's one of the next things. Is like, if we know the why, how much money we're going to spend. So if we're going to get married, how much money we're going to spend on the wedding, and what's our finances look like? And a lot of times that's just a given, automatically no. I mean, we just know this is in the budget. This is what we have. This is in the savings account. I mean, whatever it is. So, but again, I think it's really important to justify. We had a wedding who said we'd have no idea how much we want to spend. We'll spend whatever it takes, and that always concerns me because I feel like it's not a true answer. So anyway, so I think the why is definitely important. I think the budget is definitely important. The family, I said, they said we don't really care what we spend. It's like whatever it takes. That was a hard one because we had to really kind of figure out what does that look like and what are those numbers in real life and what kind of style do they want and all that sort of thing. It ended up being a very fairly frugal wedding, but they had everything they wanted. It was pretty cool. So anyway, I definitely the budget. I definitely think the venue, the dates is important too. So anyway.
With nonprofits and fundraisers, there's always opportunities for adding things to an event in the way of sponsorships. For example, some clients want to do a giveaway, but they can't do that giveaway unless they have a sponsor to sponsor the giveaway. For example, we wanted to give away towels at an event, logoed towels at an event. Well, we didn't want to put that in the budget to buy the towels unless we had a sponsor to buy the towels. So there's pieces of your budget that may obviously are flexible depending on what kind of funding comes in and what kind of sponsors you're developing.
We could probably do a whole podcast on budgeting itself because I think there is an art and science to it. We do have a lot of clients who come and say, "Hey, this is a budgeted item. We're gonna make money on the event, but we already know we're gonna spend this much." And I think those are hard sometimes because budget really needs to take an effect of how many people are going to eat, what's the guest count look like, are we going to have giveaway bags or swag bags, what's that all mean?
Right. You have an event of 400 that you're planning and it ends up being 450. You're going to spend another 50 meals and decor and everything for all those 50 people. So that you got to think about, is it a per person budget or is it an overall budget? How are you calculating that?
And does the quality of the meal go down if you have more people? We have had events that's the case, and I think it's just something to keep in mind that budgeting is it can be a complicated process. I think the same thing in even choosing the date and the venue. A lot of times we have a date we already know. If it's a wedding, we already know they've chosen this date for a certain reason. Or if it's a corporate event, a lot of times they know, hey, we need to have this in the spring. There's 2 dates that work, or something like that. But I think there's a lot of science to that. We are working pretty hard to kind of always research and know everything that's going on so that when we're talking about dates with a client, we're presenting them with a really clear list of, hey, this is all the conflicting events going on, whether that be even a television show, as the Grammys that night or something like that, or if it's local concerts, if it's national events, elections, exactly. All those things. We work really hard to make sure we're going in eyes wide open with this date we're choosing, especially competitor events. I think, if it's going to take guests to a certain place or certain way. The other thing is we have an event we're doing in Florida, most likely, maybe California, in a couple of years, 2022. And we're looking at, it's a lot more expensive during a certain season in Florida. And so we're making sure the client knows that, if you waited just 4 or 5 weeks, actually, our rates go way down in the hotel world. And so even what we've done RFP wise or whatever, in California, it's actually the opposite. They're a little bit cheaper during one season and then kind of go up a little bit. So looking at all of those things, I think is really important in selecting the date. And then of course, I think we have a whole podcast planned on selecting venues. So again, our goal with this podcast is to encourage you as an event planner. It's really designed for people who say, hey, I want to try this. I want to be an event planner. I want to see what this is about. We really have in our mind, our target for you guys is people who just kind of jumped into the industry. Maybe you've done some weddings, you've done some social events, maybe you've done a corporate event or two, and you're just trying to figure it all out, make sure you have it all. There's some great stuff out there. Special Event puts on some great stuff. MPI, Meeting Planners International, is really solid, stellar organization. There's some great people out there doing some really great stuff. We're just two guys who have some experience. We know what we kind of like and think and our attitudes, and just think, hey, we want to throw some thoughts in the pot, and more than anything, just encourage you guys having a good time, laugh. One of the things we did when we started business was decide we're going to laugh every day. We don't always succeed, but our goal is to laugh. Sometimes I tease him and I don't get laughter. I sometimes get other responses, but sometimes he teases me thinking he's going to get laughter, and it's not good. So
You get looks.
Looks. Exactly.
No,
So anyway,
but talking about the encouraging people, turning around and encouraging, I think, you and I both have a lot of experience, just life experience. You've obviously got a lot of, you have a lot of event experience, and I have a lot of just business experience and general life experience. And I think just part of the responsibility of being older and more experienced is turning around and helping those who are younger grow up and
Absolutely.
be responsible and learn about how life works and how the event world works, specifically in this podcast, but also in general how the world works, and
yeah,
help people in that.
that's what we're here for. And we really encourage your questions. If there's things we can do to help you, we are actually trying to plan on a certain amount of time every week that we can answer questions, respond to emails, helping people call us, whatever we need to do to connect. We really, we have a passion for helping the younger generation.
Yeah.
Sounds like we really are old. We're real close to the same age. Just want to point that out. I have a lot more wrinkles, but anyway. Anyway, what else? Anything else for today that's important? What's some stuff we're going to talk about on the podcast in the future? Why
So
would
what's on the
someone
list?
want to possibly tune in again?
Because they don't know how much to charge.
Yes.
That's something we're
How
going
much
to talk
money
about.
you're going to make
Yeah.
in the event world.
How do you figure that out? So I think
Sometimes
that's
more
something
than
we should
others.
talk about.
Yep.
What about graphics? How do we use graphics in an event to bring it all together and make a cohesive look and cohesive event decor?
And choosing vendors is one thing we talked about too.
Yeah.
I think
that's
places-
next on the list, actually,
yeah,
right?
places we've worked, different cities, our city where we do a lot of work, our state where we do a lot of work, we have come to rely on a certain number of vendors. And then, if we're going somewhere else, if we're going to Mexico or we're going to another state where we haven't worked as much, there's kind of a process of figuring out, who you like and who you don't, from rentals to AV people to the hotel world, whatever.
Your relationship
And-
with the vendors is so key.
Yeah.
In any business, but especially the event business, just because you rely so heavily on you're in the trenches with each other, and you got to be sure you got each other's backs.
I compare what we do a lot to real estate agents. I think, we're working for the buyer and for the seller in a lot of ways. And obviously you got to keep your eyes on the person who's writing your check and paying your bills. But I had something happen one time, 20 years ago almost, and a mentor really helped me through this that I will never forget. We were at a hotel. We were doing a manufacturing, all
That's a good
guys,
story.
all
I know the
guys,
story.
manufacturers.
I've heard most of the stories.
And you're all going to hear most of them several times because I tell them over and over, and they change from time to time. But anyway, so this manufacturing conference, and I can be real particular sometimes, or all the time, and you have things that are just kind of a pet peeve. And one of the things that just drives me nuts is I like to see soda lined up so it all matches. So it's all a straight row. It's just one of my things. The refrigerator, it all matches. And that's not OCD. It's just one of those things with soda. So anyway, so I was just real frustrated because the catering crew had just, put the soda out haphazardly. It was just kind of it wasn't even lined up straight, much less faced out with the fronts and stuff. And I was so annoyed. And the general manager of the hotel, which is a big shot. You guys haven't worked in hotels a lot, kind of like the president CEO of a hotel. He walks out. He's like, everything okay? How can we help? And I just kind of went off on the whole Coke thing, and I started readjusting them. And I'm sure I was rude. I'm horrible.
How old were you then?
I was young.
Like
I don't
30?
know. Yeah, so I don't know. Probably a little bit older than that. But anyway, so I was very pleased with myself because I kind of told them my standard and let it happen. And my mentor was close by. She's wonderful, and I was thinking she has high standards, just higher standards than I do sometimes. And so I'm thinking, oh, she's really gonna be proud of me for making sure they do this right. And the little guys
standing up for the Coke cans.
These little guys are screwing around trying to get the Coke cans in line. And she takes me to the corner and she just says, what in the world? What are you thinking? And I'm just like, well, I want the Coke cans to be right. And she's like, but think about it. We're going to be in this hotel a lot. We want them to want us come back. When they see us walk through the door, they want us to love them, and we want them to love us and say, oh, wow, this is going to be great because they're here. And she says, look at the attendees. They are construction guys, manufacturing guys. They don't necessarily care if their Coke's in a line. And sure, if you want to go over and line it out, that's great. But I don't think it's something that we need to report, especially to the general manager. Maybe to the banquet captain, say, hey, by the way, I like my Cokes on the line. but anyway, so that's carried me so far. And I think about it every time I'm in a rental company, I'm meeting somebody. I fail miserably all the time, but I love to shake hands with people, thank them for coming. We tip. Sometimes I shouldn't say it out loud because we don't tip all the time, but if someone's really gone to a lot of work,
but that's a high value for you.
Yeah, it is. So if someone's gone to a lot of work and delivering,
I've learned that
rental items or something, you tip me. No, that's, but yeah, I want to tip them. I want to be thoughtful towards them. We do thank you notes. I bought pizza before for, like a crew that's done stuff like, hey, we'll buy you dinner and, we'll have people in, do stuff like that. Gift cards. Sometimes I try to keep them to hand out, but really developing those relationships that show, hey, we care. You just helped make our event good because you brought in all of our chairs.
Such a long way.
Yeah.
I mean, we gave a large tip to a valet guy at a hotel that we are at a lot. Tip. And every time, every time we come into that hotel and he sees our face, he is waiting right there. I mean, he knows we tip well, and so we get good service. And that's something I've learned since I've been working with you. I mean, I always tipped the restaurant waiter, but I was not a very good tipper in terms of service. So I think that's a valuable lesson I've learned. And part of this podcast is me telling some of you guys about the lessons that I've learned from Joe, and of course Joe teaching his lessons as well. But I kind of have a little bit more of a new person perspective on events, and Joe's got the little bit more the veteran side.
50 years ago, I learned this. Yeah. Back before color television. So, yeah. That's not quite like that. Yeah. Anyway, well, this has been great. We appreciate you guys. Please like us on Facebook. We're on Instagram, Joe and Todd Show. You can tune in. You can look at our website, tune into our website, RumbleDrum.com. And we have show notes on there, stuff you might want to know, just things we talked about today. A couple of little notes about that. Those podcasts are available about the whys. I think that's good to see. And we're going to talk about the books we're reading at some point too. There's some good stuff out there. I suggest, recommend. Anyway, we're glad you tuned in. We would love to see you next week. We're going to be every Wednesday and for a while, and see how it goes and have some fun, and love to encourage you. Love to hear your questions. So there you go. Have a great week.
Thanks, guys.